I've been in the community college system a long time. I taught English for 20 years at Chaffey College down the road. We're neighbors. We're actually kind of smack dab in the middle between Pasadena and Chaffey right now. And during that time, one of the things that Chaffey embarked on was something that we called our basic skills transformation. And we've kind of been on that road ever since. And then for the last 2 years, I've been the Dean of Instructional Support, which continues to be responsible for the kind of the Student Success Initiative on our campus. And so I've certainly had experience, like all of you have, kind of changing students' lives on an individual basis, but institutional change is a different proposition. And so what I wanted to talk with you about, and for us to kind of share a little discussion about, are some of the implications of moving institutional change. Because it is an adventure, no doubt. And sometimes it's what I would call a safe adventure, and sometimes it's an unsafe adventure. And it kind of depends on, what it is you're trying to move or push at the time. So I thought that this would be good time for me to talk a little bit about Chaffey's story, because our story is certainly one like the one that you're embarking on, one of distributed leadership. No one person can move anything in an institution, right? We all know that, especially an institution as complex as a community and contradictory as a community college. And even with a handful of people, it's hard to move something forward. You really need a critical mass of change agents, really a coalition of change agents, which that's really what I think all of you are. You're a coalition of change agents who've committed yourselves to moving your institution in a different direction. But I think that a lot of the work that you've been doing this morning and this afternoon is about setting the stage for those changes. So what we're going to start talking about are just some of the issues that come about along that journey of moving the institution forward. So Chaffey's story is kind of an interesting one in the sense that we had sort of an inauspicious beginning of our story. In the sense that you can see that what our data showed from 97 to 98, 98 to 99, and 99 to 2000 is our basic skills course success rates were actually declining. And I don't know if your data looks similar, but there are a lot of reasons why this kind of a trend line occurs at an institution. It's not a simple answer. But what I can tell you about the story at our college is that this was a cause for a tremendous amount of despair. Because what we all felt, and I'm sure you guys all feel it too, is that we were working really hard and we were really committed to our students, and at the same time we didn't seem to be able to impact any change. As a matter of fact, the only change that we did seem to be having is that people were doing less well every year, right? And so to an extent, part of what drove change at my campus is that we felt we kind of hit bottom. And I'm not suggesting to you that that's the only way you start. Okay, that's certainly not the way we would have liked to have started. But I will say this. At every campus culture I've ever seen, there's an element of belief in our own narrative. There's a story about our college, true or not, that we tell ourselves that we all believe, right? And some of that story at most colleges is how great we are, right? And Pasadena City College is not different in that regard, right? And you are great in a lot of ways, right? The question is the data that you've looked at, is that good enough for you? Right? Are you satisfied with that? Are you satisfied by that? And I know when we looked at our own data and looked at this, our response was, holy crap. It's time for us to get off our duff and start calling ourselves Harvard on the Hill, and get moving in a different direction. So whatever impetus for change you've got doesn't matter. But what I am suggesting is the data can be a big part of the reason you change, right? And I assume that's part of the reason why you looked at some of the data you looked at this morning. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when you looked at that data, was there anything about it that surprised you? Or was it as you expected? Pretty much?
Yes.
Okay.
Going out that way little by little. We just saw it in a big blob on the board.
Okay.
Yeah, it all came together this morning.
A lot of other facts about my college that we keep in mind. 98% of our students assess as underprepared in at least one skill area. So that was really transformative for us. In these years, 97 and 99, it was 71%. Now it's 98%. So one of the discussions that we have now is, why quibble about the other 2%? You know, all of our students are underprepared. Let's just operate from that principle, right? You know, again, I think that some of what your job as a change agent is to do is to evaluate the narrative that you tell yourself about the college and use the data that you know to figure out what the next chapter of your story is going to be. Because if we had been blind to this data, I have every belief that the next chapter would have been another dip in student success, right? And like I said, this happens for a lot of reasons. It happens because you get blind to what's going on, happens because you tell yourself a story about what your college is doing, has to do with a sense of powerlessness, right? Like your president was saying, maybe because you're used to the answer being no. And so you just start thinking, well, I can't do anything about this. I'm only one person, right? How am I supposed to turn this aircraft carrier around? I'm only one person, right? So whatever the reasons are, you're all here because there's a belief that whatever path your college is on, you do have an opportunity to take it in a new direction, in that next step, right? Even from wherever you are that's good to be great, right? So, like I said, our story kind of begins inauspiciously. But what we did, very much like you're going to do, is take our resources and pool them. We used our Partnership for Excellence funds. And we had a steering group of change agents, just like y'all are here, to basically remake our campus in a couple of years. And we've sort of been on the process of remaking ourselves every couple of years ever since. In that 1 year, we reorganized the campus, and I mean a total departmental restructure. We revamped our assessment placement process entirely. We revamped a lot of facilities. We budgeted for a vision, which that's what I heard a lot of the discussions been about earlier today, because what happens is a lot of people may have good ideas, but if you can't turn those good ideas into action, right, it doesn't mean much, and a lot of that action takes money. We budgeted for a vision. We revamped our foundation skills curriculum. That was 75 courses in a single year. Revamped a lot of our instruction and developed a network of academic support centers. So I'm the dean over those success centers. We have 9 of them. We even have one for faculty. And I was reassigned out of the classroom for 2 years to get those up and going. Okay? So it was a monumental effort. We met every Friday all day long for no money, basically to get all of this done. And that's what big change agency requires, a commitment of time and a commitment of resources. So the result of that change, though, was pretty spectacular. One of the things that I'm going to just introduce you to a little bit of data, and then we'll start talking about what institutional change means. This is just a little data about the percentage and gains and success rates for students who accessed our success centers. So you can see that about 2002, we started to see some big differences, about an 8 to 10% difference in course success rates. And then in 2005, we revamped ourselves again and basically infused some new curriculum into the success centers. And ever since then, 2005, to the current day, we're at about 22%. We've seen steady inclines of success ever since. The other trend line I wanted to show you just kind of quickly is this is the percentage of transfer students who completed at least one pre-collegiate course at Chaffey College over the last 10 years or so. So you can see that in 98, 99, when we started our process, only 6.5% of our students who transferred started in a developmental course. And now we're actually at about 36%. This is 2008, 2009 data. But what that trend line shows is what I was saying earlier, is that that is impossible to create with individual people doing the best they can do. It's just impossible. Not to contradict the comments of your president, because I do think it's important that people make their individual efforts. But what I would also say is that the only way you can move a needle that much is with institutional coordination. That's the only way. And the only way you get institutional coordination is with a coalition of distributed leadership, right? And that's what you guys are about. You're the coalition of distributed leadership. No one person could make that happen.